How's it going, everyone? My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd over at horseshoehuddle.com and your favorite co-host over at the Locked On Colts podcast. And welcome back to my YouTube channel for another Film Room Friday breaking down Colts right guard Matt Goncalves. Last week, we talked about Goncalves' game against the Baltimore Ravens, basically his first ever time playing right guard in an NFL setting, and how it was kind of an up and down showing for him. Like, he really had to lean into his jump sets and getting on defensive tackles in a hurry to find success against that beefy Baltimore Ravens front. In this game against the Green Bay Packers, we saw a little bit more of the angle setting, a little bit more retreating off the line and getting to a spot. And I think he was really just trying to work on his technique and work on his process in those angle sets. It looked like a big step forward for him from my viewing. And also, we're going to get into how he handled some stunts and twists and overall just how that process looked for the young right guard as well. So lock in, tune in, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy content like this, because again, this is going to be one of many videos breaking down Matt Goncalves, and also Tanner Bortolini will come later in the season as well. But we're going to have plenty of videos like this on the channel throughout the 2025 season. About last week with Matt Goncalves, how he found a lot of success against the Baltimore Ravens in that first preseason game with his aggressive jump sets and getting on these defensive tackles in a hurry. This week, we saw him kind of go back to angle setting and more passive sets and try to work on that against the Green Bay Packers, which I think is a good thing for him. He really needed to keep working on that, working on his hands, working on his feet. And I did like a bit more of his reps in this game in these angle sets than I did in the first preseason game against the Baltimore Ravens. So we're going to look at one here against the Packers' backup defensive line. And we're going to see quickly that, again, he's not jumping the guy here. He's just getting in that angle set. They're setting the dish across the offensive line, getting a good square jump out of there, getting his feet out where they need to be, hands inside. And then we get a quick two-hand punch to the interior here from Matt Goncalves. And this is something I've seen from both the Colts' young starters on the interior, which I think is really interesting, is a quick two-hand punch to displace and then resetting, getting back on their feet, and then going from there. Personally, I've never really studied anything that's really taught a quick two-hand punch and then retreating, so I would love to find more just information on this type of technique, but it seems to work for Matt Goncalves here, as again, that two-hand punch does stymie the defensive tackle a little bit, cause defensive tackle to have to push his hands and work off there, as Goncalves is able to get back into a square footing. And then again, we see the hand fighting and the replacing of the hands. So Goncalves gets that right hand on the inside part of the chest there of the defensive tackle. And then from there, it's the two guys really fighting and going to war in this rep. Defensive tackle breaks Goncalves' hands a couple times. Goncalves is able to rework and circle those hands back in. Good job getting them back in. Loses the hands again. Fights back, gets them on side. Just a really good fight between these two players. And at the end of the day, Goncalves is holding his ground for, the 3 seconds that you want. So I would call this a win for Matt Goncalves. But really interesting rep, really good rep from him, where again, you're just fighting throughout, reworking those hands. You like to see him try to avoid some of these hand breaks here from the defensive tackle, because better defensive tackles will make you pay for that. But you do like to see the hand fighting and the constant reworking of the hands inside, keeping the feet moving, keeping the feet square, and just staying in front of his guy. Really strong rep for Matt Goncalves, and probably his best angle set rep that I've seen this preseason, of just getting to a spot, initiating contact, making first significant contact, fighting through all the hand fighting with the defensive tackle, and staying in front of his man. So really solid rep. We're going to ignore that pass over the top to Tyler Warren. Quentin Nelson's also fun on this rep too. In this next snap, we are seeing that Matt Goncalves and the Colts offensive line are sliding the protection to the right to counter this little bit of overload here. They're kind of just sliding it to where the 3-tech is, but they're also, I think, anticipating 27 coming on a blitz here. So they have the protection sliding to the right. They're going to get a chip from Michael Pittman Jr., and everyone's going to have good eyes on this play, kind of expecting this defensive line slant that comes. You can even see Matt Goncalves is already kind of peeking out to that defensive end just in case. We'll see exactly what happens when the play starts. Goncalves gets his left hand up to protect that inside shoulder, but he's already passing the guy off to Tanner Bortolini, keeping his lane integrity after the little slide here and getting his hands on his player. I would like to see him extend a little bit more and probably initiate that contact rather than absorbing it. But again, good job getting those first hands in there. Left hand is inside the chest plate here. Right hand is directing. Good solid base. Everything's under control. And he's able to lock up that route there, or lock up that pass rush there quite easily. So yeah, nothing super special in this play. But again, for an offensive lineman that we're going to see later in the game struggled with a certain stunt and struggled with a protection call. This is a good showing that, yes, he can actually pick up stunts. He can pick up D-line shifts and slants and do a pretty good job picking up his man here. So, again, this is nothing like too crazy to highlight because he just plays with his fundamentals, gets his hands inside, and locks up the rush for the quick amount of time that he has to. But that's what you're looking to see from a young starter on the interior offensive line. So, again, nothing crazy here, but a good rep for Matt Goncalves with the D-line slant on. This next clip, we're going to see Matt Goncalves handle another pretty good inside action here from the defensive line, which again shows that he's capable of picking up these stunts and twists. It's just he had that one gaffe later in the game that again we're gonna talk about at the end of this video here. But I thought he handled this one extremely well here. If you notice that the Packers front, they're going to be rushing their 4 men across the board, and we're just going to see an interior stunt between these 2 3 techs. They're going to switch places here, and Goncalves does a really good job getting in that angle set. He's getting there with, hands inside, square base like you want to see, right foot back a little bit to protect that inside hip there. And again, we're going to get that full 2-punch contact there. And he does a good job of flipping his feet as well. We talked about that in the last video where instead of just establishing that left foot and cutting off that inside with a strong left foot, the new technique is kind of to adjust your plant feet, make this one the forward foot, this one the back foot, and run the guy out. So he does do a pretty good job after the initial punch of shifting his feet around and opening those hips a little bit while still staying in control. But what he notices here is once he guides his player into Tanner Bortolini with a good, strong 2-hand punch, he gets his head up, keeps his head up throughout the entire rep, and notices the looping defender to his other side here. So what he'll do is get his head back around on a swivel, reset his feet, get them back where they need to be, hands on the new defender, and lock down that side of the offensive line. I think, again, he lunges probably a little bit too much here because you don't want to be in like this position here if you're going against like a truly like bendy and quick defensive tackle. But again, this is perfectly effective here because what you really want to do on the stunt is when it comes to stunts, you're going to have one guy that's going in and disrupting the play, and another player that's looping around who is looking to create through the free space that is left by the disruptor on the interior. So your goal as an offensive lineman when you're the one in front of the disruptor on the play is you want to create that first contact, displace them, and make this looper a little bit slow getting around that edge, so then you have time to get back to your spot and get your hands on the looper. So Goncalves, for my money here, does pretty much everything right, just in terms of, again, displacing, 2-hand punch there, knocking him off the path, getting back around and on your man that's looping around, and then getting in front and getting the stuff there. So really good move by Matt Goncalves, and again, it shows that while there are still some learning curves for him in picking up stunts and twists, I still think he's very capable of doing it, and this clip just shows exactly that. Extensively last week when talking about Matt Goncalves' game against the Baltimore Ravens on how his jump sets were his key to success in that game, and we're going to see him get back to his jump sets here. The Colts are shifting this protection to the left of Tanner Bortolini, which means Goncalves is going to be on that Gilligan's Island against this one technique in between him and Bortolini, so he's going to want to jump this player because, look, typically one techs want to win with bull rushes, want to win with power, and create upfield penetration, so a good way to counter that is to jump them, get on them in a hurry, and give yourself more space to get back into your jumps and your throttles and hold them down at the point of attack. So what we're going to see from Goncalves is a quick little jump, and again, like we mentioned last week, it's not like a full-on jump, it's just pitter-pattering the feet out here, closing that space, and even if you're only closing the ground by a good half yard, that's still a half more yard for you to work with than what you would have had if you got back into an angle set or a vertical set. So we see that he gets on the guy in a hurry, gets the wide base there, hands inside. Everything is good at the beginning of this rep here. And as we're seeing, this defensive tackle is consistently working those hands, breaking the hands of Matt Goncalves and trying to work around. And this is one thing I really want to look at here with Goncalves because I think the process is right. The result was just slightly off on this play. So here, Goncalves is losing that inside hand, that right hand there. He's losing that leverage that he wants to have. And with this defensive tackle trying to make that push upfield, he wants to circle that hand back underneath and get that hand underneath the shoulder pad so he can torque, lift up that player, and just really stymie them at the point of attack. And what we're going to see here from Goncalves, I think the process is correct. The result just isn't perfect here. So again, hand circles underneath. I think he's a little bit low with where he's aiming. I can't tell if this is his hand right here. I think that might be his hand. Maybe. If it's not his hand, I think his hand is just missing a little bit more inside. And I think he's missing his intended target. So again, circling the hand is exactly what you want to do. Circle that hand around, get it back underneath that shoulder pad, and just reset where your hands are and where your feet are. But I think he misses his design target because the defensive tackle is off balance and facing away from him in this kind of weird angle. And as a result, the defensive tackle is able to swim back over the top and create a little bit of separation. Luckily, Anthony Richardson's able to break out of the sack and get a positive scramble here on this third down, but that's probably the one little coaching point you want to make with Goncalves here is, again, process. Everything is good. Feet are good. Hands are good. It's just he misses that strike when he's reworking those hands, and it causes the defensive tackle to get off and nearly get a sack on the play. Now, I will stipulate that this was like 2.5 to 3 seconds into the play. He mostly did his job here. Like, if you're an O-line coach, you're not going to sit here and kill a guy for getting beat after 3 seconds, because typically the ball is out for most NFL quarterbacks and most NFL concepts. But still, you want to see everything be as crisp as possible, and you just want to see that rep be a little bit cleaner. But a solid overall rep for Matt Goncalves. It's just about making sure that hand is hitting where it needs to be, and then consistently moving those feet as well, because once he misses, those feet kind of lock up on him, and that's why he's able to get beat pretty cleanly to the outside. But a good learning moment for him, again, just getting those hands where they need to be and keeping those feet a little bit more on balance, but not a bad rep by any means from Matt Goncalves. I think this was a perfectly fine rep, and it resulted in a first down for the Colts regardless. Yeah, good, really solid rep there in live action. And on this final clip of this video today, talking about Matt Goncalves versus the Green Bay Packers, we are going to get into the sack that he allowed in the final plays of his half that he got against the Packers. And I think this is more miscommunication than anything else. I just think somebody's not on the right page here, and that can happen when you have 7 showed rushers by the defense, where one person's just not on the same page with everyone else, and it leads to a free rusher getting that hit on your quarterback. And that's kind of what happens here. The Colts do have 6 blockers for the 7 rushers. Giddens is going to be a little bit of a delayed protection, and then he's going to release. And either Giddens was supposed to stay in and look for loopers, or Goncalves expected Bordellini's help here, or they just had the protection call wrong across the offensive line. I'm not exactly sure where the miscommunication came. I just know from what I saw earlier in the game from Matt Goncalves, it doesn't look like he's someone who's completely oblivious to loopers and twists in front of him, like it looks like on this play. So we're going to run it through one time, and then we're going to talk about what happened. But again, Goncalves is making that first contact. They're playing half man here, and Goncalves really isn't even looking for this looper here, which again makes me think that there's something with the protection call. If this was supposed to be a right slide, or maybe Goncalves just thought it was a right slide and thought he had Bordellini's help a little bit closer when Bordellini was sliding left. Again, I'm not too sure exactly what it was. I just know these 2 young interior offensive linemen leave a free rusher to hit their quarterback. So if I really had to break this down, again, I think Goncalves is expecting the slide to the right, especially when he's this aggressive and getting out of his stance. You know, you don't take this kind of angle if the slide is to the left. You want to be a little bit more concerned with that inside leverage if the slide is away from your side and you are like that Gilligan's Island type of player, and you're going to be more wary of stunts and twists to your side. But when you have the slide coming your way, you know that you have the center on your side of the field that's going to protect you. That's kind of where his eyes are telling me that this is what this is like he expected the slide to the right. So again, I don't know if this is a center issue, if this is a quarterback issue. Maybe they expected the running back to stay in, but look, the running back's probably reading these linebackers and then pulling out. So I can't really fault the running back too much. I just know when I'm factoring in the grand scheme of issues from a young offensive lineman in the preseason, I can live more with a miscommunication than an overall poor performance from a player or from just getting beat badly on a play, because miscommunications can be cleaned up with more time on the field, more reps, and just talking more to, again, your quarterback and your center and getting on that right page. So I'm not terribly concerned about plays like this. You want to see everyone on the same page, obviously, but this isn't a play where like Goncalves is getting beat clean and knocked on his butt and giving up a sack. This is one where I think if they were all on the same page, it's a pretty cleanly blocked up concept, but just the 7-man showing pressure throws off the communication across the offensive line. The center and the guard, who are both first years as starters, are not on the same page, and it leads to a clean hit on the quarterback. So again, the process needs to be a lot better here, but I can live with plays like this in the preseason compared to, again, seeing this in week 18 of the regular season or just him getting beat cleanly. I'm perfectly fine with this happening in the preseason. Just get it out of your system now and let's move on to the next thing. So my overall takeaways when it comes to breaking down Matt Goncalves against the Green Bay Packers in preseason game 2 is kind of the same as what it was after week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. He's a young player who just needs the reps and needs the time to properly acclimate to this new position. But a lot of the good traits are there. Again, he plays with a good solid base, a good foundation. I think a lot of what he's doing with his hands are in the right place. And I think his eyes are there too. I mean, outside of the one missed stunt later in that first half, where again, I think it was more miscommunication, I think overall his eyes are in a good place as well on the interior. It's just about refining stuff, making sure his punches and when he's reworking his hands are getting to the right landing zones, and that his feet are constantly moving throughout each rep. I think these are things that are going to get better with time, get better with experience, and get better as he just properly adjusts to his place on this Colts offensive line. So we might have some rough moments here and there early in the season with Matt Goncalves, but I think this project is going to work out for the Colts, and I'm excited to chronicle it the rest of the season and really talk about the highs and lows of this young player. But overall, through 2 preseason games, he basically got in an entire game worth of action. I think the pass protection is a work in progress, but I think it's in a decent place, and I think it can just only get better with more playing time this season. So as long as he takes the right steps off the field, as long as he properly diagnoses where he's going wrong when he makes mistakes and constantly learning and not getting too down on himself, I think Matt Goncalves has the potential to be a pretty good right guard for the Colts this season and the seasons upcoming. So really fun stuff from him this preseason. I'm excited to get back to it with him following the week 1 game against the Miami Dolphins in the regular season.